then when you get into the game, and I mean, I just have to be honest with y'all, man. Cowboy football is bad. It's a bad brand of football. And not only is it a bad brand of football, it is a bad brand of football that has no hope in sight to get better. They just don't have the players. You know what was a telling sign that was just, I scratched my head? And I'm going to tell you when I knew the game was over for me. A telling sign that you just have bad players. When you do Sunday night or Monday Night Football, cool thing happens. If you're a starter, you get a chance to go up there. Jesse Holley, University of North Carolina. You know, Jesse Holley, wide receiver, University of North Carolina. You get to have that little thing come up, right? And it flashes up. If you guys don't know, Chris Collinsworth, he's like a part owner of PFF and all that kind of other good stuff. So now what happens when you get a chance to go there, you know, you pop up Jesse Holley, wide receiver, Roselle, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Roselle, 908, baby, Union County. Mozzie Smith pops up. Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle. Is it Michigan University or University of Michigan? It doesn't matter. University of Michigan. Whatever, guys. University of Michigan. Michigan University. And then underneath, it says PFF rankings for D tackles. Under Mozzie Smith's name, it said 119 out of 119. Meaning, he is the worst defensive tackle in the entire National Football League. My God. And you open up this game, you start the game off with a penalty. And things are actually going decently. You go into the half up 10-6. But when I talk about the Michaels needed to get in their bag, and there's so much to go through here. Honestly, we don't even have all the time. But Michael from Pittsburgh, who was your head coach / your offensive coordinator, here's when the game was over for me. I just looked at that, but this one play. It was one play for me. And I was like, we're cooked. It was 3rd and 5. Now you got Zeke. You brought up Dalvin Cook. Hell, you even gave a jersey and a uniform to Lil Tank Tank. Lil Tank Tank, Deuce Vaughn, he was active. It's 3rd and 5. Zeke's not in the game. Lil Tank Tank's not in the game. Cook's not in the game. It's your fullback / tight end / special teams guy, Hunter Lipke, is standing next to your quarterback in the backfield. It's 3rd and 5. And you hand the ball off to Hunter. You handed the ball off to Hunter Lipke. That doesn't even make it worse. That's worse. That's bad. Then you decide the number 1 player at his position in the entire National Football League is Fred Warner. You decide not to block him. And he just runs in the backfield and tackles Hunter Lipke for a loss. You punt. It was in that moment. It was in that moment that I knew this game is over. It was in that moment that I knew Michael from Pittsburgh is incapable of putting together a game plan that is going to be good enough to beat Kyle Shanahan. It was in that moment. And I know you're saying, that was early in the game, Jesse. Been around this game a long time. Played it, covered it, watched it, studied it. It was in that moment I knew this game was over. 3rd and 5, and you handed it to your fullback for damn near like a dive play. If I was in the conspiracy theories, I think you had money on the game. It was over for me. It was over for me. And then you proceeded to go into the halftime up 10-6. People were saying, man, we had some good runs by Zeke and things didn't look all that bad. It was, we already had one turnover that Dak threw an interception in the first half, but we're winning. This may be the year. And, I sometimes argue with people because they said, well, Peyton Manning said that when you go into the locker room that you don't make any adjustments. Bull S. Because Kyle Shanahan and company went into that locker room at halftime and said, hey, y'all warmed up? Y'all ready to play now? Yes? Cool, let's go play football. And they put 21 points up in the third quarter. And then that's when the other Michael from Illinois, didn't get into his bag. And I said earlier in that week, I said, for me, if I'm Mike Zimmer, over my dead body, do I let this team run all over me? And I'm going to load the box. I gave y'all guys a stat. I think I gave you guys a stat that the Cowboys were 4th coming into this game. The Cowboys were 4th in the National Football League with loading the box, meaning 5 offensive linemen. Any more than that, right? You have 4 down linemen. You have, I said to the back, 5 down linemen, 4 down defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. When you begin to add more people into the box, 6, 7, 8 man, your box is loaded. You put in loaded box, right? You're putting more guys in the box and the offense can actually block. We call that a loaded box. The Cowboys were 4th in the National Football League at putting more guys in the box than the offensive line technically can block. Even with that, the Cowboys defensively gave up a 52% success rate when running the football into their loaded boxes. And they count a successful run as 4 yards or more. Wrap your head around that for a second. You're facing a loaded box. Your defense is putting near in the box more guys than the offensive line and the offensive people are able to block. But still, you're the 4th highest team at adding more guys to the box to help your linebackers and your defensive line. But still, at that rate, you still was giving up 52% success rate of at least 4 yards. That's bad. Michael Zimmer from Illinois. That's bad. On top of that, you had 2 weeks to prepare for the 49ers. You had the initial bye week, and then you had the week of preparation. You knew that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play. You knew that Brandon Ayuk wasn't going to play. You knew that Deebo Samuels, who actually went out in this game later on in the game, was going to not be 100% because the man had pneumonia. The man spent 2 nights in the hospital with pneumonia. Had fluid on his lungs. Pneumonia kills people. So you knew he wasn't going to be 100%. You knew that they would have Jordan Mason, and you knew that they were going to have George Kittle. And even that, you knew they weren't going to have Jawan Jennings. He was out. And even George Kittle, throughout the week, he was limited in practice with a foot injury. But you knew that you at least wasn't going to those guys you weren't going to have, and that George Kittle had a good chance of playing. I hope that you watch film from last year because you would know that George Kittle put a little bit of that belt to tail on us last year. 3 touchdowns. Remember, he had the shirt, the F Dallas shirt. Remember that? That was that guy. And Michael Zimmer from Illinois, it makes my head hurt. It really does. Because Michael Zimmer from Illinois, you thought that your best plan was when you looked at all of the DBs that you had, safeties, nickels, dimes, corners, you looked at all the DBs that you have. You looked at all the DBs that you have on your roster. And you thought in your conscious mind, turn it on. You thought in your conscious mind, the guy that was supposed to guard George Kittle, arguably the second best tight end in the game, you thought the guy that was supposed to guard him is the guy on your roster in the DB room who is the worst cover guy that you have. The worst cover guy that you have. You thought that was the guy? You thought going 0 coverage with that guy on George Kittle was the thing to do? You thought that guy who struggles in coverage, that was the guy that you were going to allow in 0 coverage and man-to-man coverage to cover George Bartholomew Kittle? Not with your conscious mind. Not with that. Mike Zim from Illinois. Is that that was the game plan? Well, George Kittle then proceeded to go and get 129, 28 yards, 130 yards, and a touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. The one guy that you really should have stopped in the passing game, you thought we're going to go cover 0 with the second best tight end in in football with our worst cover guy. This is the point where I don't even blame Donovan Wilson anymore because he's just giving you what he got. And what he got is not a cover corner or cover safety or cover anything. He's terrible in coverage. You know that, Mike from Illinois. You know that, Michael from Illinois. You set him up. You set him up, Michael. You thought he was going to be able to guard. And then on top of that, you didn't even get pressure to Brock Purdy. You didn't speed him up. Brock Purdy had all the time in the world that he wanted in that pocket. And you had a loaded box. And you sit blitzes and you sit pressure and he's still. Oh, and then by the way, if you guys didn't know, in the prior 3 losses, not the Niners loss, but the 3 previous losses for the Cowboys, in those losses, they were giving up an average of 216 yards on the ground and 9 rushing touchdowns. And the losses to the Saints and the loss to the Ravens and Detroit, averaging 216 yards. Oh, well, if you want to go say, well, that's a lot, Jesse. What did they do against all the teams in 175? When they lose, they give up 215, 216. When they win, they give up 175. So it doesn't really matter what happens. The teams just run the football on them. Oh, y'all think it stopped in this game? No, the Niners ran for 223 yards. 6 2.2 yards a carry. Zim, and maybe you just don't have the players. You gave up another 450 plus total yards. Again, like teams are walking in. What is the song? Walk in your trap, take over your trap. Teams are just walking and taking over your trap. And I don't even care about accountability anymore because no one's accountable. No one's held accountable. No one cares about pride. No one cares about accountability, and no one cares about consequences. No one holds them accountable. No one. Not their peers, not their coaches, not their ownership. No one is held accountable. No one. Because you keep marching these dudes out there. I'd rather a guy who had a little bit of pride and a little bit of just moxie about him. May not be as talented, may not be as highly touted, may not be as highly draft picked. At this point in time, I can't keep marching these certain guys out there in the field. I cannot keep marching Mozzie out there. I can't. Donovan Wilson, I can't keep marching this guy out there. For the sake of the other guys in the football field. Like if you like those guys, but no one's being held accountable. Mozzie was all chinning and grinning and smiling and all of that. After, what was it, the Giants game? He had a good game against the Giants game. Like, and I get celebrate your accomplishments. Small victories are still victories. But there's ways to do that. Michael from Pittsburgh and Michael from Illinois, what a poor showing. What a poor showing.